From its darkest depths to its ancient woods and teeming banks, the Danube is Europe's natural backbone, a place of flourishing biodiversity and important habitats, a sanctuary for common and endangered species alike. To some, it's a weird hangover from the dinosaur age 200 million years ago, able to unlock evolutionary secrets. To others, it's a creature of beauty, a flagship species whose survival indicates the state of health of many other species. One thing is for sure, the Danube sturgeon is highly endangered. The river once boasted 6 species, now it's 4.
This is an important live relict of the planet, if I may say, and it's important to know the history of evolution of the fishes during the evolution of the planet. On the other hand, it's occupied an important habitat area of the bottom of the Danube River.
The sturgeon lives in the Black Sea, but breeds along the Danube River, where it is threatened by loss of habitat, pollution, overfishing, hydropower and commercial navigation. Here, at one of just 2 hatcheries in Romania, they're restocking the depleted Danube in collaboration with the government, as well as breeding them for caviar. Marilena Marienu set up the hatchery 7 years ago. She's concerned about dwindling numbers and has restocked the Danube with thousands of small fish.
Sunt într-adevăr factori destul de puternici care amenință existența acestor specii, nu neapărat navigația. Aș putea să spun că lucrările care se fac pentru îmbunătățirea navigației ar putea să afecteze semnificativ populațiile de sturioni și chiar și a celorlalte specii.
The Danube Delta, 5,000 square kilometres of natural habitat, formed 6,000 years ago. Today, it's part of the European Union's Natura 2000 network of important wildlife sites. A patchwork of river branches, lakes and islands through which the sturgeon passes to its breeding grounds. A home to thousands of migratory and indigenous birds, cormorants, grey herons and the greater crested grebe. As the river flows into the delta 2,800 kilometres from its source in Germany, other birds, like the Dalmatian pelican, find refuge in and around its waters. Among many amphibians is the Danube crested newt, threatened by habitat loss. And one of Europe's other great flagship species, the white-tailed eagle, just 40 pairs of which live here. Daniel Petrescu, an ornithologist and Danube Delta ecotourism operator, has seen the birds many times, but rarely when toying with a mob of hostile gulls.
Juvenile, maybe 1-2 years old. They usually not very loved around here because they are the predator of all that moves. And this eagle in Europe, it's a spectacular bird as it is. It's the largest eagle in Europe. The wingspan is about 2 meters 40, I think.
Daniel was born in the Delta, and there are not many of its byways he doesn't know. The Delta is part of the European Union's Natura 2000 network of protected sites. They are clustered along the entire length of the Danube, creating valuable wildlife or eco-corridors. Natura 2000, the cornerstone of Europe's conservation policy, centres around legislation to protect birds and endangered habitats. Yet despite this, threats to wildlife lie around every corner.
There are multiple levels of protection here and a multitude of laws that are protecting this place, but still there is a big pressure on this habitat to be developed, mainly for tourism, also some futuristic plans of some politicians that want to build roads through the delta, which would be probably the biggest disaster that could ever happen to this place.
The delta's woodland is as important to the Danube's biodiversity as the waterways and wetlands surrounding it. Here, wild horses roam freely in forests hundreds of years old, beside tended farm animals. Woven into this natural fabric are communities of people who have lived by and from the resources of the Danube Delta for centuries.
Înseamnă natură, o natură sălbatică, înseamnă viață, înseamnă aer curat, înseamnă foarte mult pentru noi, pentru că deci aici ne-am născut, aici am crescut.
Life for people here in the village of Letia is simple, God-fearing and precarious. There isn't always enough work, and in the past 10 years, a quarter of the village's 130 families here have left for larger towns. It's a place where human welfare needs protection, just like the natural environment.
Dar cine să investească așa ceva? Cine s-ar găsi chiar așa de bun la suflet? Normal că așa este și el ar fi foarte minunat dacă s-ar crea niște locuri de muncă pentru oameni aici, dar unde? Înainte era pescuitul, acum și pescuitul este interzis și tineretul e la pământ.
This is a theme that recurs on a larger scale all along the river, the tension between human, commercial interests and the conservation of nature. At the headquarters of the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River, the ICPDR, they're working to strike the right balance.
There's a much better, I would say, perception of rivers as not just a place where people go swimming or they use it for drinking. It's a place, living systems that have to be maintained that way. Economic activities, human activities around that can happen, but they have to be done in a way that maintains that living system in a healthy way. And that recognition has come about, and the Water Framework Directive has perhaps been the basis under which people intellectually have come to grips with that.
EU legislation on water quality, including the Water Framework Directive, is already delivering results. Scientists say the river is now cleaner than it's been for decades, and some endangered species are actually returning in numbers. But old habits die hard, and domestic, agricultural and industrial pollutants still leach into the water. The bigger pressure on the Danube's resources, apart from increased commercial exploitation, is hydropower. All the more so today as demand for renewable energy increases.
There will be a tremendous pressure to utilize what is, in many instances, according to the energy analysts, is unused potential at present. This is an issue particularly because now we have a debate within Europe about nuclear power. We have the idea of hydropower being a renewable source. It is renewable, but it can be extremely damaging to the aquatic environment if it's not done in a way that protects the environment.
The Gabčíkova hydropower plant generates valuable power for Slovakia. It's a renewable source, but still, opponents say, it has come at a huge cost to the environment.
It's a serious barrier for fish migration, and also the construction directly caused direct loss of the few thousands of hectares of floodplain forests and many more thousands hectares of the country land.
They wanted to build a hydropower station here at the picture postcard Austrian town of Hainburg, but local people took to the streets in opposition and won. Instead, the authorities created the Donau-Auen National Park, sandwiched between Vienna and Bratislava. Its task is to protect habitat. Here, in a project funded by the EU LIFE programme, they restored the riverbank, removing concrete blocks used to fortify navigation routes. Within a matter of just weeks, the pebble stone bank had returned to its natural state, and endangered species, like the white-tailed eagle, are recolonizing the area.
The Danube floodplains, they are very famous for their richness in biodiversity. Sometimes they're compared with the tropical rainforests. And now we're standing here on this huge gravel bank, which looks on the first point of view like a desert, but it is not like that. That is one very important part of this biodiversity.
Martin Supela knows all about natural river dynamics. He and his partner Sabina, rowing their replica Ottoman-era skiff, here on the right, run a small ecotourism business in collaboration with the Donau-Auen National Park. They live and work on the river and have made it their passion to share it with anyone game enough to join in.
Ja, also das Schönste ist, wenn man die Donau runterfährt mit einem möglichst kleinen Boot. Da kann man sehr viel vom Fluss erleben, den Fluss kennenlernen, auch das Gefühl von der Weite, sie der Strömung ausliefern, sozusagen auch treiben lassen, loslassen. Das ist eigentlich eine sehr schöne Erfahrung auf der Donau.
Their story is a sort of parable for the Danube. It's evidence that man's economic objectives needn't come at the expense of nature. They can flourish and grow alongside it. This majestic river is meant to be enjoyed for the unique wildlife it supports. The activities and support of the European Union mean that significant steps have already been taken to protect the Danube and its habitats. As for millennia, the river is also meant to be used to support economic advance. The confluence of these two ideas is the point at which the river works and flows at its best.